Hello, hello. Got a fine crowd, fine crowd. Today I'm going to be selling myself to you. And you may be asking, what does that mean? How are you going to sell yourself to us? Well, I'm not really going to sell myself, but I'm going to go through a pretty interesting way of selling. It's a different way, I think. Most people probably think selling is easy. What is selling? All you do, tell someone about a product and they decide if they want it or not. Well, that's slightly true, but there's a little bit more to it. Some things that we probably overlook, but there are some ways to do effective selling. For some of my career, I was a salesman, a major salesman at a huge retail chain. So this was actually my livelihood. It's really interesting once you get into it. It's not quite as simple as some people think to be the best, but it's got some really, really cool opportunities and things like that. So, I know you can't see my slides, but I'll talk to you about them as we go through them, and I'll send you them in an email as well. So, this picture, as you'll see when you follow along, is the perfect guide to sell. Selling. So, what is selling? Some people say it's not hard. I've even had customers come in and say, well, I can do your job. Usually, when someone says that, they're probably upset with you about something that's been done. They'll say, I can do your job better than you. It's easy. Well, what all goes into selling? You have to be an active listener. And when I say active listener, a lot of people really don't get that concept. There's a big difference between listening and hearing. I can hear multiple things at one time, but I can't comprehend or understand, really get a good feel for all of those outside noises. It's a lot of distractions. To be able to listen, that means you're comprehending, you're understanding what's going on. There's a big difference, especially when dealing with confidential information, clientele information, customer information, or just simply helping a customer find what they're looking for. If you're not listening, if you just heard what they said, maybe, but if you weren't paying attention, concentrating, there's really not a lot you can do for them. You really can't help them, and that'll come back to bite you. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Um, the next thing that we'll go into is active listening versus hearing. You'll see this on your slide. It's one thing to hear someone. It's another thing to just go through the motions as we sometimes do. But you really need to be conscientious of those things. That's why a lot of businesses get bad reps, or they think people are on commission. They don't really listen. They just hear the first thing and they run after it and try to get an item and get them out of there. That's not how I would run my business. I was the number one or top salesman of my time when I was with that company. And I'm only 21 years old, so I take pride in that. I had a lot of training. Those are some things that go into it. You don't just get thrown out into a crazy atmosphere like that. And by the way, I work for Best Buy, very competitive retail chain. Of course, one of our huge competitors is Amazon, of course, from the box store to the online, getting away from the brick and mortar. Everyone knows how that is. But a big part of my training, a big part of my goals, a big part of my success was learning to listen to the customer and really understand what they wanted. If you'll see a lot of people, they'll have high sales, but they'll also have a high return rate, high retention. And we went over training and things like that to really figure out what was going on. And it actually came down to me, and they began to ask me what I thought about other people's sales and why they had such high return rates. It's because we're not listening. We're not actively listening. If you come in and you say to me, Jalen, I need X, Y, and Z for my home, let me tell you why. If I stop listening at that point, all I've heard is X, Y, Z, I'm going to get this sale. That's what I'm thinking. When you explain to me, you may actually not need X, Y, Z. You may need A, B, C. But if I wasn't listening up to that point, I wouldn't know what you needed. I just heard the sale. Now I'm chasing the money, and we just missed out on an opportunity. Because what we're going to do, we're going to get the customer the wrong product, the wrong item, and they're going to return it. There's no doubt about it. That's definitely going to happen. It's going to be returned. So, I just keep hitting on that. What is selling? How hard is it? What is it even? What is selling? I would say an active definition of selling, representing an item or a product, whatever you want to call it, correctly, and displaying it in such a manner that someone would be willing to spend their hard earned money on that item to benefit them. That's something that I take very seriously. People don't like to waste their money. I don't like to waste mine. So I'm not going to give them something that's not beneficial. We want to make lifelong connections with these people, establish rapport, good relationships. We don't want to waste their time. We certainly don't want them to be upset with us and never come back. We don't want to do that. I'll go to my, I'll stay on this one. We'll talk about positive attitude. That's really big in the retail world. A lot of people have horrible attitudes. You don't want to work with them. I don't even want to work with them. And I had to. Horrible attitudes. When someone comes into you, to your place of business, you have to have a great attitude. You have to treat them correctly, or else they won't come back. In fact, they'll tell people about how you treated them, and those people won't want to come to you. And the last thing, we just tie all of our skills together. We've got active listening. We've got having a positive attitude, those trainings, that skill set, everything that we went through to get to that point. That's the last thing, the last step, putting everything together, but it's the most important. If you miss a step, you've got the skills, you've got the active listening, but you have a horrible attitude, that won't get you anywhere. Or you've got the great attitude, you've got the skills, but you didn't listen to what they wanted, that won't get you anywhere because you're giving them the wrong product. There are many different ways you can go about it, but if we don't put all of these skills together for the greater good, then we're still hurting our customer, and we don't want to do that. And not just customer, this goes as well for our college courses. If we're not listening, paying attention to our teacher, following specific guidelines and outlines for our projects, we'll be hurt for that. We'll be penalized. So we want to do this is a life goal. This is not just as it pertains to selling. I'm selling myself to you right now because I want a great grade. I want to sell myself in a manner that you would say, this young man really put a lot of time and effort into this. He knows what he's talking about. That goes along with life. That's life in general. When you go for a career, when you're going to interview, school, some schools require that you interview to get into the school. Whatever it may be, we have to sell ourselves. We really have to know what we're talking about. We have to represent our own brand. We have to do that. But it's been great to prepare this. It's been a great semester. I thank you for this project because it allowed me to talk about something that I'm passionate about. I know my time's running out. 8 minutes, I'm going to hush my mouth. But anyway, it's been a great opportunity. Thank you.